I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. Welcome back to The Locker Room. Happy to have you all joining me today. Listen, we've got a full show, fun show, great show, but if you want to get to the show, you got to get through the annoying parts first. I know you're tired of hearing me say it, but if you want to stay up to date with everything The Locker Room has going on, you need to follow our social media. We have a ton of exclusive content, a ton of exclusive videos, a ton of exclusive everything, giveaways, everything you need to enjoy the full Locker Room experience is at TLR Podcast 615. That is TLR Podcast 615. Join us today. This episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com for all of your gym needs. From clothings, to recoveries, to supplements, to vitamins, to gear, everything you need to have a better gym experience, to look cooler, feel better, look greater. There's so many things that they do for you that all you need to do is go check them out. And if you use your promo code TLRHOST, that is TLRHOST, all capitals, I'll give you 15% off your first purchase. Do the monster mash. Listen, we're still doing our Halloween celebrations. I still have continually and faithfully watched my scary movies every single night. Today's episode will drop right after I get done watching Saw 2. Saw 2 is on the list tonight, just because I feel like apparently throwing up and gagging throughout an entire film. I don't have a strong stomach. I will tell you that story on why I switched from a nursing major in college. It's a very good story. I'll tell you that story another time because I've got to get into my favorite haunted house moments of my entire life. I've got some great stories. For some reason in my life, when things go down around me, when things go down in general in life, it just seems like Jacob's always around or involved, or like I'm an eyewitness to a stabbing. That's a legit thing. Like, I just so happen to always be around when crazy stuff is going on. So I've got some great haunted house stories for you. Let's kick it off with my very first haunted house I ever went to. 7th grade Jacob. I had the Bieber hair, the bangs straight down, and my hair was curly, so I really couldn't flip it like all the other kids, but I still had the bangs. I thought I was awesome. That was when you would wear a girl's hair tie on your wrist, and people, you were like, whoa. Like, are you tied down? Are you married? Are you middle school married right now with that hair tie on your wrist? But no, it's just a playa. Players got to play. Me and my dad jeans and my Converses with brown shoelaces. The only reason I know those vivid details is because I'm looking at a picture from my very first haunted house. In preparation for how hilarious my first haunted house experience was. So here we go. Here's the full story. So as I said, 7th grade Jacob was out on his first ever adventure to a haunted house. He was also with his middle school crush. I was wearing her hair tie. We were middle school married. We were deeply in love. We were going to get married and have children like every other middle schooler in the world that has a relationship. And we were out with 4 other couples. So it was a great time. The haunted house, I love haunted houses. I love being jump scared. That was a lot of fun. It was what happened in the middle of the haunted house that I guess ruined my first ever experience. So the haunted house was great. I still remember it to this day. It no longer exists, which is super sad because I love this haunted house. It was what happened when my crush and I, we had never kissed, nothing like that. I mean, we held hands for 5 minutes and, that's how, when middle schoolers hold hands, that's basically like making out for an hour and a half. It was a massive deal. We were holding hands. I mean, nowadays, you middle school hoe bags. I mean, this is not a joke. I coach volleyball, and I saw one of my middle school players just making out with a dude in a parking lot before the game while her parents stood there. And I was just like, well, would you look at that? This is just just a sick world we're living in with a bunch of sick people. But anyways, so we go to the middle of this haunted house, and each couple taking their turns. There's like this little dance room in the middle of this haunted house. So each couple kind of took their turns to go through the little dance room by themselves and to, do their own thing, right? So first couple goes in, bada bing, bada boom, did what they did. Next couple, same thing. Then it's my turn. And I mean, I know what's coming because everybody's kind of been, there was a hush around the car leading to this haunted house of like, wait till we get to there's a dance room in here. And like, basically that's where everybody kisses. Okay. And so here goes middle school Jacob. I go into this dance room and, it's just me and my crush. I won't name her, but she, if you ever listen to this, you know exactly who you are because we're still friends to this day. But we walk into this room and she looks at me. I look at her. I see her close her eyes and start to come in. I panic and I hug her. Yep, that ruined my first ever haunted house. And to this day, it has me kicking myself in my own ass. But I straight up, she puckered her lips. She came in. I saw everybody behind me. All the other couples were kind of smiling and smirking. They knew what was going on. They were about to go, oh my goodness. And instead of that moment of the, oh my goodness, they kiss, you're in love, blah, blah, blah. Instead of that moment, they all looked at me like, what the hell is wrong with you? As I just straight up bear hugged her and was just like, this is fun. And then the best part is I just walked out. I didn't know what else to say. It was awkward. So I just left her on the dance floor, literally shunned her kiss, she didn't even, she tried to hug me back, and I just, broke off the hug and just walked out. So that was my first ever haunted house, was ruining my middle school crush, because we really didn't talk much after that, which I 100% understand, because not only did I embarrass her in front of the 6 other people that were with us, not only did I shun her kiss in front of everybody, but after that, I literally bro-hugged her and walked out. Needless to say, we did not stay middle school married. She asked for her hair tie back, but we're still Instagram friends today, so I don't know if, I don't know if that calms the situation a little bit. Another one of my favorite stories going through a haunted house. So this one happened with another group of people, and they remember this very well, I know, because they thought it was the funniest thing ever. So we go to this haunted house, and in the middle of this haunted house, there's a massive maze. So the way the maze looks is you walk through a door, and there's 8 more doors, right? And then there's just this big center room that's dimly lit. And then you go through those 8 doors, and the big joke is that you continually pour out into the middle of this room until eventually they open the right door for you that leads you out of the maze. But they keep you wandering for 20 to 25 minutes. It's a lot of fun. It's funny. And, it's just a bunch of people getting dumped into the same area, all swearing a whole bunch as to why they can't find the right door. And then, joke's on you, it's been hidden. But the one year, so they've changed it since, but the one year that I went, it was the first year that they did it. And fun fact, the room was all transvestites. And that's not to say anything against transvestites, but the whole room was just a bunch of middle school guys and high school guys dressed up like girls, okay? And so you walk into the room, and instantly they're cornering you and hey, big boy, hey, daddy, you want me to, they're very explicit at haunted houses. I worked at one for a little bit, so, I know how it goes. But, so instantly you're a little bit unsettled as you have a bunch of guys in skirts and lipstick, all up on you saying they want to do things to you. But I'm with my group of friends, right? And I lead. When I go to haunted houses, I'm usually the leader of the line. I'm usually the first one in, first one out. I don't care. I'll go forward first. It doesn't bother me. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I'm the first one in, and little did I know that one of the actors, had told my friends to wait behind me and had slowly crept up behind me. So I go through the first door and I'm not paying attention, and little did I know, I'm halfway through this maze and I'm talking to all my friends and I'm like, hey, where's this? Where's that? Have you guys checked this? Do you see anything? And I turn around and I'm face to face with this dude just with fake boobs, red lipstick. And when I say I've never been so scared in my life, I jumped probably 6 feet in the air, and, it was just, he got a great laugh out of it. But I'm stuck in this maze now with this dude who just won't stop following me. And I'm just like, yo, I'm out. So I'm trying to get out of this maze Well, I got lost, like majorly lost, and he just won't stop following me. Just, hey, big guy, hey, you want daddy to kiss you? You want daddy to rub your shoulders? And, at this point, this is the first time I think I've actually ever been, like, freaked out at a haunted house. Most of them, when they jump out in a mask, like, it will jump scare you, but I'm not sitting there going, holy freak, I gotta get out of here. But this one, I was, like, legit scared. I was like, please, man, just please leave me alone. Please let me get out of here. And which, of course, dumbass me, that just encourages them to continually stay on you and give you a hard time. So this dude, me and him for 8 minutes are just going around this haunted house, and he's just talking dirty in my ear. He's getting close to me. So eventually I go to a dead end, and at this point I'm pissed, and my friends, we'll talk about that in a second, but I can just hear the chuckles out in the lobby because at this point I get loud. And I was just like, I'm at a dead end. He's been following me. I'm legit creeped out. And I was just like, all right, dude, like, I'm done. In all seriousness, if you come within an inch of me, I will punch you in the face. And so, he's just going back in, oh, daddy, I like it rough. And so I'm just sitting there just like, I'm going to punch this MFer in the face. Like, legit, I'm going to punch this dude in the face. So he leans in to sniff me, trying to make it creepy. And so I legit, I like, this dude told me afterwards, the only reason I know this, but I whispered, I was like, hey, I'm going to kill you. And I scared that dude so bad that he's like, he breaks character, runs, like, he's like, hey, the lobby's this way, my man. I'm sorry. I was just giving you a hard time. And I was probably a freshman in high school, a sophomore in high school. And I asked him, because after we got through the whole maze, well, I'll finish the story first. So he finally leads me out to the center of the room. All my friends are laughing their asses off because they knew what was going on the whole time. So needless to say, I didn't speak to them until the end of the haunted house. And then it got funny, but I was just furious. So we get out of the haunted house and, they have like hot chocolate stations at a lot of these places or snack places. So I was just getting a snack, and the workers, we were like one of the last groups through. So the workers were all kind of done and coming out, and that dude came out and he was on his smoke break. So this dude comes out, and I was like, hey man, I'm sorry. I just got freaked out. And apparently he had informed security that he was terrified for his life. And if you know what I looked like in high school, I was 120 pounds soaking wet. I had an afro the size of Napoleon Dynamite. And this dude was terrified of me. And this dude was like 6'3", pretty cut. I can remember him to this day. Pretty cut, like, was a fit-looking dude. And he was terrified of little old me. That's another one of my favorite stories, just for the simple fact that I profusely apologized. I was like, hey, listen, I don't know what came over me, but clearly don't back Jacob into a corner saying that, you're going to do sexual things to him aggressively, because I will kill you, apparently. And so yeah, it's another one of my favorite haunted house stories. And then lastly, this actually happened 2 years ago, right before COVID shut down all the haunted houses the first go around. So this time I was not with a group. I was with one of my best friends. You've seen him on the show a bunch of different times, Seth. So Seth Thornton and I go to a brand new haunted house that I've never heard of. And it's got great reviews. Listen, I'm going back to it this weekend with a friend of mine. Very, very excited about it. But we go to this haunted house, and it's, I'm telling you, things just happen when I go to haunted houses. So we get in line, right? So we're waiting to get into the haunted house, very excited, and there's two couples behind us, probably roughly our age, maybe, probably a little bit younger, around their 20s. At this point, Seth and I were, I was 23, 24, Seth was 25. And so anyways, this dude was being very abusive to his girlfriend. So his buddy and his girlfriend were kind of 2 or 3 feet behind him. And this dude was just being very abusive, calling her all kinds of names. And I noticed out of the corner of my eye that he's grabbing her by the hip and like digging his nails into her. And he's like threatening her. And so she's kind of scooting up towards Seth and I because she's terrified for her life. And this dude's like, if he's whispering in her ear, like, if you walk up there next to them, I'm going to take you out to the parking lot and show you what respect is like. So he's just the worst type of person that's ever existed. So this goes on for 10 minutes of just, and it's just Seth and I looking back, making eye contact with this dude. and his buddy's just terrified of what's going on as well. Clearly, they all were terrified of this psychopath. And so this dude just kind of, you'd look back at him and he would just kind of look away, not make eye contact. Well, eventually she made him mad because she wasn't close enough to him. He's like, you ain't going to cuddle me? That's fine. He's like, I'm going to the truck to smoke some weed. So he just announces to the crowd that he's going to go smoke weed, which is whatever. So next thing you know, we're like 3 people from getting to the from getting to the front of this haunted house. And Seth and I turn around. We're like, are you okay? Do you want us to do anything? So this girl like bursts out into tears, like hugging us, terrified for her life. One of the saddest things that I've ever been on. I know this story took a very dark turn. A lot of you are like, well, can we go back to the middle school marriage part of the segment? But it's just funny the way like everything always goes down around me. Not that situation is not funny at all. But, so like she's like hugging us, fearing for her life. And so his buddy and his girlfriend go, she's fine. And so Seth, and if you know anything about Seth, he's very quiet. I've never seen Seth look at him and go, Seth, if Seth is talking to you in an angry manner, you've got Seth past the point. Like Seth just sees red at that point. Seth goes from being the nicest human in the world to not saying anything to when he does say something, you are terrified. So Seth looks at him and he's just like, listen, you better back up or things are going to end badly for you. And so, we take care of this girl, we get the cops involved, and I knew I should have just gotten in my car and gone home at that point because I knew that the rest of this evening wasn't going to go much better. We dealt with literally a domestic abuse case, before we even walk in. So we get her situated, get her in the cops' hands, get that guy arrested. So then we go into the haunted house, and if you haven't been to a haunted house, there's usually a guy up front or right when you enter, like a room where they hold you and they're like, don't run, don't touch the actors or they'll kill you. And you're just like, oh, okay. They just give you the rules. They're trying to spook you out before you even get in there. Well, this dude, it's just me and Seth. We're going in by ourselves, and this dude has a big old snake around his neck, and it looked fake, right? When you're in a dark, foggy room, I'm like, oh, it's just a fake snake. He's trying to be all cool. And next thing you know, it's like he's talking, don't run. If you do this, I'll have my creatures attack you. And you're just like, yeah, okay, we got it. We're not going to run. I won't touch anybody. Let us go through the haunted house. We've already been waiting an hour and witnessed a domestic abuse case that we had to take care of, right? We're ready to just go. So Seth doesn't jump in haunted houses. Seth plays that I'm cool, I don't get scared card, which I know he does. But so this guy's talking and he's walking around Seth and I. Well, little does Seth realize this boa constrictor has crawled off this dude's shoulder onto Seth's shoulder. And I've never seen Seth jump or run in my entire life out of fear. And I watch him squeal like a 13-year-old girl as he looks over and he's like, dude, this dude keeps touching me. And it is a snake an inch away from his face. And he literally, if you ever seen The Office where they talk about, if there's an attacker, what should you do? It's like strike, scream, and run away. Where Creed does that, it's exactly what Seth did. He jumped up and goes, ah! Smacks towards the snake and then just tries to take off running. And the dude breaks character. He's like, bro, you've already broken every rule I just told you not to break. Also, did you just slap my snake in the face? And I was like, yeah. And Seth's like, yeah, I did just smack your snake in the face. And if it comes near me, I will murder your snake. And this dude was just like, geez, just go in, you psychopaths. But that was another very funny moment. Because I've never seen Seth jump or run that fast, or I've never seen a snake smacked in the face, ever. And the most interesting part about that entire haunted house, it was a very, very good haunted house, but when you exit the haunted house, you exit at a tattoo parlor, and they're just like getting dumbass kids to get tattoos the second they leave. And so, I almost did, don't get me wrong. I'm the kind of guy that if the right candy's being called out from a white van, I'm probably going to get in the van. Like if they say, hey, listen, Jacob, we've got cherry Twizzlers. I'm for sure checking out the van. I'm not saying I'm going to get in the van, but I'm for sure checking out the van. But, so it's just a weird, awesome haunted house, but you just empty out into like a tattoo parlor and it's just a bunch of very scary people just like, hey, do you want a tattoo? We're doing a special, you can get Friday the 13th tattooed on your arm today for 10 cents. And you're just like, nah, I'm good. Thank you. Please don't ever touch me, near me. Don't talk to me. Please stop making eye contact. But it's just, those are some fun stories from some haunted houses, some of my favorite memories at haunted houses. I'm going again this Saturday, first haunted house I've been to in almost 2 years, and I'm going to a haunted house where they have a movie, and then they have the haunted house. So it's very exciting. You watch a scary movie. I don't know. I forget what it is. It rotates. A lot of them's just the old classic scary movies. And then you get to go through the haunted house. So it's a lot of fun. But those are some of my favorite haunted house memories.
And that's why I always say, shum shum, slippity dop.
So this past weekend gave us one of the greatest heavyweight bouts of all time. It's my favorite heavyweight bout that I've ever seen, just for the simple fact that, I wasn't around when Muhammad Ali and all these other guys, Evander Holyfield and all these guys were going at it, and all their trilogies and all their great matchups. So besides what I can go back and watch, via YouTube, it's the remarkable parts about YouTube is, it's got all those great fights on it, and I love watching that stuff. In person, this is one of the greatest fights that I have ever witnessed. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 did not disappoint. Now, I was a little bit wrong on my prediction, but I was right also at the same time. I mean, I predicted that Tyson Fury would have him out in the 5th round. He had him out a couple different times, then he was out a couple different times in the 4th, and then eventually Tyson Fury has, just the will to win and ends up winning it in the 11th round with a TKO. But let's talk about this fight. So I still stand by what I've always said, in that boxing does not know how to put on a great pay-per-view. That was a great fight, but if that fight, let's say that there was another fight in place, that if there was any other fighter besides probably Canelo or Floyd Mayweather, those are 2 names right now that I would pay the money, pay the $80 and watch. Let's take Tyson, Wilder, let's take them out of it. Let's say take Canelo out of it, take Floyd Mayweather out of it. Any other boxing match, that was one of the worst fight cards and more boring fight cards that I've ever watched. There's something to be said for Dana White in the UFC. When I can watch a Friday night fight night, not with ranked fighters, a lot of the times your fight nights are the up-and-coming guys, young guys, or gals that are just trying to make a name for themselves, or older fighters like the Robbie Lawlers, whoever. Now, Robbie Lawler's no longer with them, but you know what I mean. It's basically there just to keep fighters that are not in the high 10 to 15 rankings active, get them paid, and keep them going. It's sad that those fight nights, with way less talent than was on the card in this boxing card, are way more exciting and way more fun than this entire boxing match. See, the problem that boxing is always going to have is that besides the big name guys, no one gives a flying crap about any other boxer. Besides Canelo, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, basically the entire heavyweight division, it seems like, is the only one that gets respect. Floyd Mayweather Jr., besides Garcia, besides a few of these guys, no one gives a flying crap. And boxing just puts on a bad event. No, the talent in the UFC is a lot more exciting and a lot more fun than boxing. And partially is because of the reffing in boxing. They allow them to clench up, and that's what was so exciting about the Tyson Fury-Wilder fight is he did not let them clench. He did not let Tyson Fury just hold him for 2 and 3 minutes in the round and make it a boring fight. No, he made sure that if it hung for a second, he said, no, we're going to break it up, get back to punching each other in the face. But all the matches previous to that were boring. The talent was not there. The refs let them hang on each other. Let them kind of just literally dance around. And they're also forever long. We all can agree on that. Even if you're not a fight fan and you try to watch that card and you're like, since when the hell did it become 10 rounds for a co-main event? Yeah, that's insanity. Boxing takes forever. Now, if it's a great fight like Tyson and Deontay Wilder, then, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, then you don't care because that could have gone 20 rounds and I would have enjoyed every last second of it. But boxing as a whole just puts on a boring event. The fights are boring. The talent's boring. There's no excitement. It's the same thing I've said about the MLB is it's run by a bunch of boring-ass old white guys that don't have any fresh ideas to make the sport invigorating. And this is why Jake Paul is such a brilliant promoter. This is why Jake Paul has brought life to boxing. Because Jake Paul is a great promoter. Jake Paul is one of the best self-promoters and fight promoters I've ever seen. And that's sincerely not a joke. I'm being 100% serious. I would tune in and watch Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul or Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul before I would ever pay a bunch of money to watch a professional boxing match that wasn't the 4 guys that I like. Boxing is boring. They don't keep it invigorating. What I love about the UFC is they brought back the Contender Series. These fight nights, they start at 7, not 10 o'clock at night like the pay-per-views. And these fight nights are quick, fast, hard competition with a bunch of young, hungry fighters. They've put that intensity on the roster of like, hey, you're fighting for, and this is what Dana White's done so brilliantly this year is, hey, you're fighting for a roster position. So you can't go out there and be lackadaisical. Like boxing, these dudes' records are like 56-15 or 62-39. It's like these dudes are just boxing all the time. And it's 2 separate worlds. I get that the UFC and boxing are 2 separate worlds. But I'm looking at it as a fight organization that puts on pay-per-views against another fight organization that puts on pay-per-views. Boxing puts on a bad pay-per-view. So this card was boring as hell. And it wasn't until Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder finally walked out of the tunnel, which seemed like it took forever because Deontay Wilder had some problems with his gloves or whatever, that I actually got excited for the fight night. Because I watched the entire card and I was just, it's just boring. They don't do a good job. The promoting's not good. But yeah, you're like, we get that. And I know I keep repeating it, but it drove me up a wall because it just seems like, if you would just hire somebody that's under the age of 25 or 35, excuse me. If you hired anybody under the age of, at this point, let's go under the age of 45. You could bring some life into boxing, and that's why Jake Paul has been so successful. Now let's get to the main fight, which was Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. Like I said, I predicted Tyson Fury to knock him out in 5. It took him till 11 to finally put him away, but we saw knockdowns going back and forth. Tyson Fury got dropped twice in 1 round for the first time in his entire career. Like I said, the best part about that fight was the fact that the ref didn't let Tyson Fury, and I was happy about this, he didn't let Tyson Fury just put all 285 pounds of himself on top of Deontay Wilder and just wear him out and eventually, win as he knocks him out in 6 rounds like he did in the second fight, because we needed action in this fight. We needed Deontay Wilder to stay in this fight. We needed this fight to go longer. We needed to see these 2 guys literally fight till somebody finally hits the canvas and stops moving. Because the controversy that all surrounded the second fight of, he wanted to go out on, Deontay Wilder wanted to go out on a shield, which I get, and he said he was still alert, and there's a whole lot of back and forth, and they said fine. The ref did a great job of saying, listen, that's fine. I'm going to make this without a doubt a clear-cut winner. I'm not going to let you guys just wrap up when it gets dicey. I'm going to let you 2 just swing for the fences. I'm not going to let it get boring. So already I was very excited with the fight when he was just letting them fight. And I will say this, Deontay Wilder proved that he is one of the best warriors we've ever seen, and he is the 2nd best heavyweight in the entire world right now. Now, the gap between the number 1 and the number 2, I believe, is massive, since Tyson Fury has won all 3 rounds against Deontay Wilder, or all 3 fights against Deontay Wilder. He's won probably, I would say, 80 to 90% of the 30-plus rounds that they've had together. But my biggest question is can Deontay Wilder do anything different and it's not going to end up like the second fight? Can he work on his footwork? Can he work on creating a jab? See, a jab is so important in boxing because your jab always sets up your big overhand or your big uppercut. So I thought Deontay Wilder did a much better job, and I was very happy to see him not only go 11 rounds, I was shocked that he went 11 rounds. Literally one of the toughest dudes to face that walks the face of the earth right now, the fact that he stood up till round 11. But he came out with aggressive jabs, and he came out with better footwork. But the problem is at the end of the day, this was a boxing match. This was a boxing match. Deontay Wilder had a great 4th round. He knocked Tyson Fury twice. Now, Tyson Fury was not dazed, or Tyson Fury wasn't knocked out. He was just knocked down twice, which, while that's an incredible feat because we've never seen that, the problem is he was really hoping that it was all over in that 4th round, and he was in a lot of trouble, and I mean a lot of trouble when it went past that 4th round, because it became a boxing match, not a knockout match. See, what a lot of people don't get is when you're a knockout artist and you go for it all, like he did in the 4th round where he knocked him down twice, he was going for it all and they landed flush. Like he straight up went for it all and they get back up. it basically demoralizes you because you just gave them your number one shot. You gave them your best shot, and you did the thing that you do best, which is you try and knock people out, and they still get back up off the canvas. It is one of the more discouraging things that could possibly happen to a knockout artist. So I knew after the fourth round, when Tyson Fury was able to escape, he was saved by the bell and didn't take any more giant hits from Wilder, I knew that it was going to be a tough night for Wilder. And then from then on out, Tyson Fury he just outboxed him. He not only outboxed him, he out power punched him. I mean, he was landing bombs. And like I said, it's wild, no pun intended, that Wilder stayed up for as long as he did. I was shocked. Did not expect Wilder to be on his feet past round 6. He lasted till round 11. So that was pretty remarkable that he stayed up that long. And then eventually, the better boxer wins. The second you can't land your number one punch, the better boxer is going to win. Ask Derek Lewis what happened in his last fight against Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane's just a better fighter. Derek Lewis couldn't land his giant knockout shot, and guess what? Ciryl Gane just outfought him. That's the exact same thing that happened here. Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the entire world, and he said something very smart that I think we should apply to all sports. He can't compare himself to other eras because it's fantasy. Back in the day, heavyweights were considered 180, 185 pounds, and Tyson Fury's 288 pounds, right? So you can't compare eras because everybody is so different. It's hard to compare LeBron and Jordan. Their eras are just so different. So I love the fact that he pointed that out. But I truly believe that he is not only the best heavyweight in the world right now, but he is one of the best, if not the best heavyweights of all time. He's right up there with the Muhammad Ali's of the world. Sincerely believe that. 33-0, one no contest or one draw. What happened in the first match, which I truly believe that he won that fair and square, but that's neither here nor there. Tyson Fury just proved that he is one of the greatest to ever do it. It was an incredible fight, one of the best bouts I've ever seen. Now, the big problem I had with Deontay Wilder is he's a little bit of a jerk. And, I thought it was very nice that Tyson Fury at the end was like, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And he tried to show respect, and Deontay Wilder said, no, I'm not talking to you. I'm not showing any sportsmanship. And he left the ring. Listen, he was well enough to walk around and give thumbs up and to high-five people. He could have stood there like a man, taken his loss like a man. Him and his wife or girlfriend, whichever one it is, literally both just went off crying into the tunnels. Do you want anybody to lose respect for you? Pull that crap. When you've run your mouth. You hate Tyson Fury. You've run your mouth. You accused him of cheating in the second fight, which was astronomical since your team watched him wrap his gloves. You fire all these different people that were in your team because they helped him cheat. Apparently the refs were on it. Everybody was in on it, and you pushed this big he cheated scheme for the second fight. This fight, you're now claiming he cheated again, by the way, that his gloves had extra padding, and you're not even man enough. And you should have been proud of what you did. You lasted 11 rounds with one of the greatest to ever do it. You should have been proud of that. And instead, you and your wife or girlfriend, I don't know what she is to you, but you all went crying, showed no sportsmanship, not going to do any interviews, and have all this attitude. You lost to the better boxer. You lost to one of the greatest fighters of all time, and you lasted 11 rounds with him, and you don't even have the decency to respect that man. All my respect for Deontay Wilder not only went out the window, it went out the window, down the street, got ran over by a semi, picked up by the people that clean up the streets. They threw it away in the dumpster. Then the dumpster caught on fire, and then eventually we put it out with fire extinguishers. The fire department put it out. Then we scooped the remains and we scattered those ashes into the ocean that has now been eaten by a turtle. Okay, that's how much respect you have lost, Deontay Wilder. And I just want to say on this podcast, you're a bad person. You're a bad person. No one likes you. You're a bad person. And it was hilarious watching you and your wife or girlfriend, I forget what she is, watching you two cry like 3-year-olds because you lost to the better person. In the spirit of the NBA season starting this coming week, I'm going to give you my top 5 teams to win it all. My top 5 teams, my top 5 preseason picks, and of course I'll get a little bit more detailed as soon as the season officially starts. Don't worry, the NFL is going to come back next week. We got to redo our power rankings as the power rankings have shifted drastically. We've got to talk a lot about these young quarterbacks, especially Justin Herbert and the Justin Herbert-Baker Mayfield comparison. That was ludicrous. There's so much to talk about. Listen, if you all want more of this show, let me know, because I'm thinking about opening this up to 2 episodes a week, 2 full podcasts a week. But if I don't hear from the fans, then I'm just going to stick to the one. So if you want more of the locker room, hey, listen, TLR Podcast 615, there's a way to get a hold of me on there. Hit me up and let me know. And we'll talk about moving this thing to 2 shows. But anyways, let's talk about my top 5 teams to win it all in the NBA. My preseason picks. At number 1, the Milwaukee Bucks. You know my rule. If you win the NBA championship, you're my favorite to win the NBA championship. Until you get dethroned. It is so disrespectful, by the way, that everybody's just Brooklyn 86% to win it all. With a Kyrie Irving that, as we learned today, will not be joining the team for anything until he gets vaccinated. And it's looking like he's not going to get vaccinated. So as of right now, Kyrie Irving will literally never play a dribble of basketball, which I think drastically changes that team, because we've never seen Kevin Durant or James Harden be able to do it unless they have 4 other superstars or all-stars around them. So I don't understand why they're still 86% to win the NBA title. That's another story for another day. You know, if you want to know my thoughts on Kyrie Irving, just go back and listen to Scarefest episode 1, and you will hear my true, honest thoughts of Kyrie Irving. But my number 1 team is the Milwaukee Bucks. You just had a guy in Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's so fun to say his name. It's like Francisco in Elf when Will Ferrell's just like, Francisco. That's what I say. I say, Giannis Antetokounmpo all the time. And Luka Doncic, I like that one too. But you have a guy who just dropped 55 points in a championship game, won the MVP. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I don't care that people were hurt, because right now they're about to run it back against that same Brooklyn Nets team, and I believe that they're a better team. They added a Grayson Allen, which is a good piece off the bench. They're still the better team. You can't say that Giannis isn't the best player in the world right now. Based on his performance, he has passed LeBron James. As of right now, I'm not going crazy here. As of right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, so fun to say, is the best player in the NBA right now. LeBron at number 2. But I don't understand why we just disrespect them so much. Drew Holiday, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Lopez, Vincenzo is going to be back off of injury. They added Grayson Allen. This is a squad. And they should be right back up top, the East, fighting for a championship spot. At number 2, the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't want to hear it. Yes, I understand that I'm being a little bit of a bandwagon here. I understand that I'm being a little bit of a LeBron James nut rider, so to speak. But at the end of the day, the Los Angeles Lakers still have the second best player in the NBA and arguably the 4th or 5th best player in the NBA in Anthony Davis. And they just added a Hall of Famer, which we've already talked about, Russell Westbrook. And I told you that this is going to work. All the media wants to shut it down and just give Brooklyn a championship for doing nothing, which always pisses me off because you're giving something that has never been earned. The Los Angeles Lakers have won a championship. They deserve to be back in that conversation. If LeBron stays healthy, if Anthony Davis stays healthy, and they're able to get all of that chemistry worked out in the first couple months of the season with Russell Westbrook, with this new squad, with the addition of Anthony Davis, with the addition of Wayne Ellington, with the addition of Trevor Ariza, who will be joining the team later, with the addition of DJ, with the addition of Dwight Howard. Their whole team's just addition. This is a squad that should be competing for a championship, and I will guarantee you right now is coming out of the West. So my number 2 team, the Los Angeles Lakers. My number 3 team, the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, the Brooklyn Nets, I'm not dumb enough to put them at 4 or 5. The Brooklyn Nets deserve to be in the conversation of the NBA championship. Now, if Kyrie Irving is not a part of this team, I have them at 3rd with Kyrie Irving eventually getting vaccinated, coming to his senses, and coming back to work. But if Kyrie Irving does not come back to work, this team is going to struggle to get to the Eastern Conference Championship, and I am not playing around. The rest of this roster, You added what? Patty Mills. LaMarcus Aldridge is back after he took a year off. You have a washed up Blake Griffin who's okay. Like, congratulations. You've got a couple shooters around you. You don't have a great defense at all. You have zero size, so you're going to get killed on the boards. But you have Kevin Durant, who some people consider the best player in basketball. I would consider him the third best player in basketball right now. And you have James Harden, who is never... James Harden, this is one of the most brilliant sayings I've heard from Nick Wright. James Harden's first great playoff moment, or his next great playoff moment will be his first great playoff moment. We've never seen James Harden be able to do anything whatsoever besides lose. But that being said, if they are able to keep Kyrie Irving, they have an offense that can not only score with anybody, but will outscore anybody in the entire league. I truly believe that. And if they're all bought in and they have team chemistry and Kyrie Irving is there, they'll be very strong contenders, if not in that championship game against Los Angeles Lakers this year. At number 4, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns. Listen, they didn't lose a whole lot of people. Chris Paul's still playing at a high enough level to keep them interesting. They had a great run in the playoffs last year. Of course, as we know, making it to the championship. You have Cameron Payne still. You have Chris Paul. You've got, I forget what the kid's name is. Cam Johnson, I think is what his name is. He was very effective coming off the bench. DeAndre Ayton is slowly coming to his own and starting to shoot threes more. They are a very interesting play. I think they are very safe to be in the conversation of the conference finals again this year in the Western Conference Finals. Unless they go through the Lakers early on in the playoffs, they should be right up there in that conversation. And then lastly, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers for the simple fact that although I do believe Ben Simmons is out the door, for whatever they're going to get in return for Ben Simmons is going to be enough to put them in strong conversation to win a championship. If Ben Simmons goes to Portland and Portland sends Dame Dollar down to Philadelphia, they should arguably be the favorites in the East for the simple fact that Joel Embiid's unstoppable. Damian Lillard would make him unstoppable. They would be a big, fun favorite, I think, in the East if that happened. So there's going to be some situation revolving Ben Simmons soon. Revolving around. No, I was right. Revolving around Ben Simmons soon. So once we get a key answer on that, I still believe the 76ers have championship, not only aspirations, but can make a conference final and or the championship if they get the right pieces in place after they ship out Ben Simmons to whoever he goes to. But those are my top 5 preseason favorites for the NBA championship. And on that note, go home. Get out of here. Stop listening. We're done. Listen to this part. And this part, make sure you're following The Locker Room at TLR Podcast 615 on our social media. After you listen to that part, goodbye. We're done. It's over. There's no more. You're going to have to wait till next week. Scarefest Episode 3. Thank you all for joining me. If you're a new listener, welcome into the program. If you're a returning listener, welcome back, Locker Room Faithful. Once again, everybody, I'm Jacob Courtwright. This is The Locker Room.